Hello my lovely witches, and welcome to Book of Shadows number 15. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if you have been here before, you may well have seen the flip through of this before I actually started using it for my Book of Shadows. And now she's complete. And she is still very chunky because, you know, I'm no good at creating books with shadows that aren't chunky anymore. Anyway, that's okay. So here she is, book number 15. Let's get stuck in because she's got a lot of pages to look at and you don't want to waste time listening to me waffle. So this is the collage in here that I often do in the front pages of my books. I don't always, but quite often that's something that I really enjoy to work on and build up as I work through the book. So I started this in July and I finished it at the beginning of October. It's taken me weeks to get around to actually filming this flip through. So sorry guys. Here's hoping we have a nice, quiet, peaceful flip through. I have 2 cats in the room, so anything could happen. This was a witch bottle. I am a big fan of the protective witch bottle, and I make one on a fairly regular basis. I sort of renew it and bury one by my front door on a regular basis. This was a spread that you might have seen on Instagram. I had just got myself a new hellebore, and so I painted a picture of it, and I've also got one of those little sprocket machines now that does these cute little photos without requiring ink, like an old school Polaroid. So I took a photo of my hellebore as well. My intention sticks, you will have maybe seen the video that I did. If you haven't, check it out on my channel. It's just a short, quick little spell on making an intention stick. This was some love drawing powder that I received much earlier in the year from my Molly Roberts Patreon, and I didn't quite know what I was going to do with it, so I just sort of hung on to it for a while, and I eventually decided to put it in a container in the altar to Branwen in my bathroom. This was me wassailing my apple tree in July. This was the little wassail song that I sang to the old man of the apple tree, and I gave him some cider and some toast. Again, you might have seen that on my Instagram back in July. This was another wassailing poem or song that I wrote out, which was less about specifically wassailing the apple tree itself and more about sort of celebrating Yule. It's sort of Yule-y rather than apple-y, but that's okay. So that's in there as well. This phoenix oil recipe was completely inspired by this book illustration, which I just loved. I think this bird is beautiful. Whether it's meant to be a phoenix or not, I'm not sure, but they do describe it as a fiery bird. So I decided to create a phoenix oil, which could be used for sparking that transformative, creative spirit. And it smells heavenly, and I love it. It's really good. It's funny, since I have been using it regularly, my ideas have gone off the charts. I'm never going to be able to get all of my ideas done. I wish I had several lifetimes to create in, because I keep having more ideas. Honestly, my to-do list is just growing and growing and growing. Oh well. I guess that's better than being stuck and blocked. This was an art spread for the full moon in Capricorn. And now we have 3 cats in the room, so this could get dangerous. An alchemy spread that was, I was re-watching the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness, Discovery of Witches. I've read the books over and over. I've listened to the audiobooks over and over. And I love the television program and have rewatched and rewatched and rewatched and rewatched. So I was fully immersed in that and decided to do a spread about it. So that's that one. That's some personal stuff. My new moon intentions for the new moon in Leo. I like to put them on little cards. Quite cute. This was about bitter greens, and not only are they really good for your gut health, but you can also use them for healing, purification, and protection magically. So it's a little bit of kitchen witchery information. This is an anti-anxiety smoking blend. So I actually smoke this. It's a blend of vervain, mugwort, damiana, blue lotus, and mullein. I very, very rarely, I used to be a very heavy tobacco smoker, a very, very heavy cigarette smoker. For over 20 years, I smoked at least a pack a day. I quit 12 years ago, and I don't smoke any illegal substances, never have done, just not interested in that. No judgment on anyone that does. I have plenty of close friends, family, etc. who choose to do likewise. I do not, just doesn't agree with me. But I do smoke occasionally legal herbs. And this is a blend specifically made up for anti-anxiety. This part of the year was very, very stressful for me. Like just unbelievable high level stress. So I made up this blend, and I was smoking it probably 2 or 3 times a week at that stage. Haven't had any for a while. But it's a really lovely blend. But you can also make it as an incense, an anti-anxiety incense, and burn it on a charcoal block. This is a Do As I Say oil. This was a little bit of information on manifestation boxes that I then didn't act on until just recently, and I've just started to create my own manifestation box, which I'm hoping I'll be able to share with you. I might do a video in the next, little while on some of the things I've been working on, some of my creations that I've been working on that I don't necessarily work on camera. So we might do another little show and tell video at some point, and hopefully I will be able to include my manifestation box. Also look out for it on Instagram. I undoubtedly will put it up on there. This is another art spread on freedom. I'm not going to say too much more about that. I really loved this recipe. Mine might be slightly different, I'm not sure, but it's basically based on Amy's from Magical Crafting. If you don't know her channel, wow, you're in for a treat. Go and have a look at it because it's great. But you probably do, because she's very well known, she's very popular, and she does such beautiful art witchery. So this was her love salt recipe, which I really loved, and I made it, and I then have used it as bath salts. So thanks for the recipe, Amy. This is an abundance spell pocket. I got the idea for these spell pockets from Megan, from Megan the Moon. And this has got art magic, sigils, herbs, etc. This is using some of those chocolate coin wrappers. That was an idea that came from Molly Roberts. So I made these little prosperity spell pouches. So much fun. and I have to say highly effective. So give it a go. Art Witches, give it a go. This was a little spread that I intended to completely fill up and didn't come back to, but it was about what is magical to me. Then this was a dream I had. Oh, you guys, my brain is a strange, strange place. I had this dream where my brother was trying to give me a pair of cursed Wellington boots. I don't know. It was really vivid. And he was so insistent. Anyway, that's that. This was the recipe that I made at Imbolc pie. It's sort of a meat pie with a custard top instead of a sort of, you know, pastry or potato top. Oh, so good. Delish. Custard top because of the egg sort of symbolism and dairy symbolism for Imbolc. This was my Imbolc ritual with some correspondences. And that was my altar. Snowdrops. This was an art spread for the full moon in Aquarius. Just a list of Art Witch ideas. I can't remember where I got that from. It might have been Molly Roberts. I don't think it was though. I think it was somewhere else. And it was perhaps, you know, creative art journaling ideas or something, but I decided to pop them in there. I've actually since created a whole junk journal book that is being filled up with Book of Shadows prompts, art journaling ideas, art witching ideas. I'm in the middle of Molly Roberts' Rock Your Grimoire course, which I love. It's great. We're about, what, a week in, I think, 5 or 6 days in. It's a 14-day email course and it's great. So I'm actually putting all of that into a separate book so that I don't have to, because I've got a few, okay, start again. I have a number of these lists of prompts and thoughts and ideas throughout various books of shadows, and I do go back to them, but it's a hassle, you know, going and which one was that in? Was that in book 10 or book 11? I'm not sure. So as I said, I've created a new junk journal just for that I'll be able to grab off my magical library shelf and look at whenever I'm feeling stuck or I want a little small project to do in my Book of Shadows, because that's something that I often find. This is just some spell cards from a spell card deck. These are ones that I wanted to try. I don't think I've tried any of them yet. New Moon in Virgo, my intentions on this card is really, really beautiful. I'm trying to think who's the artist for that. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'll try and put it in the notes below the video because I can't remember her name. Beautiful artist who does a lot of goddess paintings. And this was again, I tried to put this on Instagram, but it didn't film very well. So this was a Patreon video tutorial by Molly Roberts, making these little dream cards, and I had so much fun creating these, and I definitely I might put them aside as I take them out. I definitely want to make more of them. They were really, really enjoyable. This little sigil. This was one of her colouring pages. I loved making them. And I definitely am going to do more. But, you know, like a lot of other things that I'm going to do, I have so many things. Yeah. I think these could be really good to place into a manifestation box as well. It's so cute. Sorry, I'm marveling over my own work and not actually talking to you. This little push-in sticker actually came free with a pack of other stickers that I bought off AliExpress, I think it was. So cute. So that's some self-love work going on there. This little road opener again. This is a colouring page from Molly Roberts. This one didn't work quite as well as I would have liked. This material that I was using, I was putting some herbs in. This was one of those security envelopes with the window. And I sewed it on and it split and all the herbs came out. And so I had to try and sew it and stick it down. And, you know, we have things that don't work as well sometimes. Still awesome. Awesome fun. Highly recommend having a go with that. These were all done on, well, most of them were done on playing cards. I think there's a few others that were just done on pieces of cardboard. And this is one of those sort of trading card, artist trading card type pockets that you can buy a whole pack of on Amazon or, you know, wherever. That was a family cord cutting ritual that I did. This is so cute. In going through my parents' property, finding boxes of old stuff, this was my very first journal. And it is so cute. It really is so cute. I don't know whether I made this with my mum or whether I made it at school maybe. And someone's typed up the words and then I've drawn the pictures and stuck in the stickers. Honestly. So there you go. I've been journaling since I was a wee thing. This was some stamps that I was given again as a child. I reckon it would have been in the mid to late 80s. My great aunt went off on a trip to Moscow by herself, which at the time everyone was just like, are you serious? She was 50 and a widow, and she went overseas by herself to learn about Moscow, and she brought back these stamps for me with all Russian art on them, and I think they're beautiful, and I didn't ever do anything with them. I'm not a stamp collector. I didn't want to get rid of them, but I also didn't just want to shove them in a drawer. So I have put them in here, and now I can, sort of memory keeping, I suppose. This is something else that I spoke about in my using fiction in your magic video, as is the next page with the Megan Mogg, Frog in a Bog, Bat in a Hat, Snap, Crackle, Pop, and Fancy That. This was my Juniper Moon herb box on birch. Her herb boxes are so lovely. I'm so sad for her. She has suffered a really, really huge personal loss, and I know she's closed her shop, and she's got to focus on her family. And my heart goes out to her. It really does. Wow, I can't imagine what she's going through right now. This was a banishing that I felt compelled to do. This is the first time I've really felt like I had to work that sort of level of magic on someone. So I'm not really going to talk about the details, but it was a really tough situation and required some hardcore magic. This was an art spread inspired by these pieces by Picasso of the Horned God. And it was a fascinating exploration to do, actually. I have never really worked specifically with the Horned God, except in the sense of my early days as a witch. I identified as a Wiccan. Well, a solitary Wiccan, not a, inducted into a coven Wiccan. And obviously in Wicca you have the goddess and the Horned God, and that's, that's your two deities, essentially. But it was interesting. I don't know what more I can really say. It was a lot of sort of very primal feelings coming out in this spread, and it was really interesting. As an art witch, I think that's one way that I will often explore deity work or spirit work, is through art. An anti-anxiety spell pouch. You can see a bit of a theme at this point in my book. I was doing a lot of work around stress and anxiety. Again, I've spoke about this on my last video. Whenever it was. The one that's just recently come out when I'm filming this, which is probably going to confuse the hell out of you, because I think I have several more videos that will probably go up before this one does. So just ignore what I just said. The video I did on the healing charm, wall charm, where I used buttons, and I talked about button magic, and I talked about how I'd recently inherited the button collection, the family buttons, and I'm really enjoying using them in my magic. I think these ideas are primarily from a video by Rachel Patterson, amazing witch, amazing author on all things witchy. She does a live on her YouTube in Australia it's every Friday night. I think it's Friday morning for her in the UK. And she also has a blog. And so I got these wonderful ideas on using buttons from her video and her blog post. And I have been really working with them, and I'm loving it. Personal work. Blessing jar. This was I wanted to create a gift for a close friend, but it had to be small, something I could post, because she lives in Sydney and I live in Adelaide. And I had recently seen my friend Eliza, the witch from Oz, on Instagram, had created a gorgeous blessing jar for Ostara. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'll create a blessing jar, one for me and one for my friend. And so that's what I did. This is an art spell about magic being around you. And you may recognize some pieces in this from, just keep that out of the candle flame, from my art magic bundle that I bought, of papers that I bought from Megan and the Moon. This one was one that went up on Insta. I'm using keys in magic, and the imaginal places was from something I was doing, I think, with Molly Roberts. I think it might have even been as part of Unicorn Games. I can't remember. This is an earth protection bottle, literally using earth, dirt, soil. It's a Scott Cunningham recipe. Some magical words that came from an old, very old magazine, Australian magazine, just called Witchcraft Magazine. I found an old copy in a cupboard or on a shelf or something somewhere in my house. And I decided to cut some things out of it and stick them in my book. This is a fire protection charm, which I think might be Scott Cunningham. No, might not be. Might have been something from that Cornish magic book. No, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it's fairly traditional charm for fire protection, as I understand it. Oh, this was some magic stuff on not feeding your goblins. So, in other words, not allowing your negative thoughts to have power. Actually came out really well. This guy is actually adorable. I'm like, yeah, I don't like my goblins, but this one I quite like. He's quite cute. Some stuff. Again, this was based on a piece. The sort of base piece is one of Megan's works. And this was, I showed you in that haul video that I did, the fortune telling fish. This is the beauty spell that I adapted from Willow Rosenberg's Grimoire. Page on deer, who are very closely associated with my goddess. This was looking at earth spirits. This was an artwork that I actually did last year of what the dragon eggs for all the dragons that are in the Harry Potter books, what they might look like. And for some reason, it just needed to be in my book. This was an Ostara spread using a couple of very old paintings of mine or drawings of mine of hares and rabbits that again, they were in a drawer, and I thought, well, you know what, I think I want to put them in my book. And this is, I found a secondhand copy of one of my favourite books, which I have just here. This one, Masquerade by Kit Williams. Just amazingly gorgeous illustrations. And I found a secondhand copy in the op shop and thought, right, that's mine. I'm having that for some art magic work. So there we go. This is no bad vibes sort of spread. I don't want to talk about that either. My new moon in Libra intentions. Back in there. There we go. A job security spell pouch that I made. this based on one of my favourite Doctor Who quotes, one that I'm sure a lot of Doctor Who fans will easily recognise. People assume time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. This also came in that Art Magic kit, paper kit, and I was intending to use this as a basis for some art magic, and it was just so beautiful that I could not bring myself to stick anything down on it. So I just said, okay, there it is. It's a blank page in my book, but not blank because it's beautiful. This was a spread on some sovereignty work that I was doing. This is a recipe I made for charging salts, which are currently still sitting on my altar, charging items. I think at the moment there's some crystals and oils and what have you being charged in there. This was a spread on grounding and ideas for grounding. Something I find difficult. I have no earth signs in my natal chart whatsoever, and as a consequence I'm all up in my head, and grounding is very hard for me. Yeah, this is Unicorn Games I was doing, and that's just a whole lot of journaling. It's all not probably particularly interesting, although I have tried to journal on interesting things in interesting ways, just to make it a bit, should I say it again, more interesting. Yeah, it is just journaling though, so it's not a lot. That came out of the magazine I was talking about, as did this. This was a little bit of information on She-Oak. I was re-listening to an old episode of the Witchy Bites podcast, which if you are a Southern Hemisphere, particularly Australian witch, I would highly, highly recommend it. I mean, I'd recommend it to anyone. It's a great podcast, but it's particularly pertinent if you're Australians. You know, so many of the most wonderful witchy podcasts out there obviously come from the Northern Hemisphere. And as great as they are, there's a lot that often just doesn't apply to us down in the Southern Hemisphere, or it's just not part of what we experience, or it's at the wrong time of year. That's the biggest one. You know, it's a bit of a challenge sometimes being a Southern Hemisphere witch when 99% of the content is for Northern Hemisphere witches. And that can get a bit overwhelming and a little bit frustrating sometimes. I think it's probably harder too when you're first starting out. I mean, podcasts and YouTube and social media didn't exist when I started out. So in some ways that made it even harder, but I think in some ways it made it easier, because with a little tiny bit of information on how to adapt things to your area, you just get on with it and do it, because you're not constantly being bombarded with, as for example, the whole of October being bombarded with Halloween fucking pumpkins and autumn, when it's spring, it's Beltane, it's all about flowers and sunshine and fertility, and it's not fucking spooky season. It's just not. Sorry. Rant over. It's just hard sometimes. So where was I? This is a really big ramble. Witchy Bites podcast. Check it out. You'll find it wherever you find your podcasts. And it's great, and it's Australian, two amazing witches from Tasmania. Look for it. And that's where this information came from. Okay. Full moon in Aries, I didn't really do an art spread as much. Well, not a sort of art journaling type spread, but I did have a lovely witchy day that day, and so I wrote some information about that. This is not something I'm going to talk about. Oh, look, this is the healing charm that I made. So I put that into my book as well. Leaf, this is just some collage-y stuff. Really lovely card that I can't remember where it came from. Maybe Meg and the Moon, but it might have been someone else. Sorry. A Sweet Dreams spell pouch that I created. You know how much I love her. You do. So I did this little shaker pocket. It was this spread was just purely for my enjoyment, and some things associated, or that I associate with Sybil Trelawny, on this lovely card from Megan. And can I just say, your book does not have to be serious magic all the time. Your book can be whatever you damn well want. And if you want to do an entire spread devoted to your love of Professor Trelawny, like me, do it. Do it. And when you see it, it makes you happy. Is there anything better? That's a spell in itself. I look at this and I'm instantly smiling, and I feel all cozy and comfy and happy, and it just, yeah, gives me all the happy vibes. If that's not a spell, I don't know what the fuck is. So get out there and do it. Make art that is meaningful to you. Don't make art that you think you should be making in your Book of Shadows. Just fucking do. Like, it doesn't have to be. It can be, but it doesn't have to be how to cast a circle. These are the elements. These are some herbal correspondences. Sure, do that. I do that. You know that. But it doesn't have to be just that. It can be anything. It can be based around a quote that inspires you. It can be around a character that inspires you or makes you happy. It can be about absolutely anything. It can be about your cat. It can be about the fact that you love pizza. Sometimes exploring that stuff gives you a lot of insight into who you are as a person. That, my friends, is shadow work of a type. Delving down into why does this make me happy can often flag things for you that you've, you know what I'm saying. We'll just move on. Do fun stuff in your book. End of story. Go for it, guys. This was from the Witchcraft magazine. It was a Litha ceremony, and I wanted to pop it in here because it was really beautiful. And I might try and do this ritual this coming Litha. Again, it's an article about Books of Shadows by Lucy Cavendish, and it was interesting. This is inspired by Jenny Blonde of the Comfy Cozy Witchy podcast. Talking of awesome podcasts, it's great. It's Northern Hemisphere, so for the 90-something% of you that are from the Northern Hemisphere that watch my videos, I got some statistics the other day, and I'm like, gee, that's a lot. So for those of you, go for it, listen to it. It's great. And one of the things that she does, I mean, her podcast is called Comfy Cozy Witch. And every week she does talk about what is making her feel comfy, cozy, and witchy. It is the most pure and beautiful thing I can think of. It's like gratitude. It's like a gratitude practice, but very centered on what is making you feel comfy, cozy, and witchy. So I decided I would maybe start doing some of that occasionally in my book. And it was really enjoyable. And I did another Colour Wheel of Abundance, which I am hoping to manifest some things there. This was a subscription box that I signed up for, called Brewed by Belinda. She's a local South Australian tea maker, but I have to say, I got the shits up. For some reason, my subscription got cancelled, and she didn't notice, and then she sent me an email saying, oh, by the way, I don't know if you cancelled this or whether maybe your payment didn't go through, but your thing got cancelled. And I'm like, you know what? If your system can't even handle a non-payment without actually saying, hey, by the way, your payment didn't go through, which I don't believe for one moment, because it's not like I've not had the money in my credit card. But if that was the case and I got no notification, I'm sorry, I just sort your shit out, and then I might consider resubscribing. Sounded like a good idea, but I'm over it. I'm done. Protection charm, which I'm assuming by now you will have seen the video. As of now, I haven't yet uploaded it, but I have created it. And I'm hoping to upload it soon. It's another one of Amy from Magical Crafting's recipes for a meditation candle. A little spread on Medusa. Some stuff on my astrological chart. This was another fun art spread about transformation. I just wanted to splash some paint around and, make a Rorschach-y thing, and it was very butterfly-y, and it made me think of transformation. And some solar magic ideas as well. This is, again, one of my favourite quotes. So, I mean, the Ten of Swords in a reading always freaks me out because it is so fucking depressing. And I was listening to a podcast called Welcome to Night Vale. If you like weird shit, you'll love it. It's about a town called Night Vale, and really weird shit happens in this town, and it's essentially a radio, like as though Night Vale Radio are doing their radio sessions, whatever you call that, in Night Vale, and talking about what's going on in the town, and it's fucking hilarious, and I love it. Highly recommend it if you've got a very quirky and warped sense of humour. And one of the quotes from an episode, the Ten of Swords, everyone's favourite card. It features a relaxed man receiving acupuncture by a river. And it just cracked me up, and I had to do that, and it reminded me a little of, this is from the Modern Witch Tarot, and this was the artwork that inspired her to create the whole deck. And yeah, it just sort of all fitted and had to be in my book. Little bit of information on the law of the threefold return, which I know a lot of modern witches don't believe in, abide by, and I'm not even sure that I do. But it was something that was definitely formative for me as a witch in the early days. Again, because I identified as Wiccan and learnt about witchcraft through the lens of Wicca initially. And this was, again, a fun art spread. I came across these merit certificate things in a pile of papers and what have you. My parents were both teachers, and it was in a pile of their papers, a whole stack of these things. So I'm assuming it would have been something to do with one of them as a teacher. But I decided to make myself a merit certificate for being an awesome witch. And then this was the artwork I created for Beltane. And again, you might have seen a little snippet of this on one of my stories on Instagram. And that's the finished piece that sat on my altar. And now it's tucked in the back of my book. And that is book 15. So I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed my rambles. And I hope you will join me next time. Take care and see you in the next video, my lovelies.